The paper landed beside the turkey, and every fork at that Thanksgiving table stopped moving. Serena stared at the number. $15 million. Then she looked at me. Not proud, not surprised, but angry. Like I had stolen a future she believed belonged to her. My mother whispered, "She has children. Gina, she deserves it more." My father stepped in front of the doorway. Caleb reached for my bag. They thought I would fold, apologize, and hand over my life's work. I stayed quiet, slid my fingers inside my purse, and pulled out the one document that proved the money was never the biggest secret. The first thing I noticed when I walked into my parents' brownstone that afternoon was the smell of rosemary butter and pine cleaner. My mother always made the house smell perfect before people arrived. Not warm. Perfect. The silver had to shine. The candles had to match the napkins. The family photos on the hallway table had to face forward. Especially the ones where Serena stood in the middle and I leaned in from the side like an afterthought. I carried my baked mac and cheese with both hands, the glass dish still hot through the towel. It was my grandmother's recipe, the one she used to make in a scratched blue casserole pan before my parents learned to care more about presentation than people. "Put it over there." "Gina," my mother said, barely looking up from fixing the centerpiece. Not "Happy Thanksgiving," not "You look beautiful." Just over there. At 38. I had learned how to walk into that house without expecting softness. I owned a growing skincare business. I had employees, customers, warehouse space, contracts, responsibilities. Outside that house, people called me focused, smart, a founder. Inside that house, I was still the daughter who made creams in her kitchen. Serena swept in wearing cream silk and a diamond bracelet that caught the chandelier light every time she moved her wrist. She kissed our mother on both cheeks, then glanced at my dish. "Oh," she said, "you brought that again." Caleb, her husband, laughed under his breath. Brave choice. I set the dish down carefully because my hands wanted to shake, and I refused to give them that. My father came in from the living room, already dressed like someone expecting applause. He adjusted his cufflinks and gave me the same tight smile he gave delivery drivers. "Let's keep today pleasant," he said. "No business talk, no tension." That meant no truth, no questions. No reminding anyone that Serena's wedding had cost me my college fund. No mentioning that I worked double shifts while Caleb's first failed venture got checks from my parents. No saying out loud that every time Serena needed saving, I was expected to disappear quietly. I looked at the long Thanksgiving table. My name card sat at the far end, half tucked under a folded napkin. For one foolish second, I still hoped they had left me a real seat. The first crack came before we even sat down. Caleb walked past the table, stopped in front of my mac and cheese, and gave it a little push with 2 fingers. The dish slid across the white tablecloth, leaving a smear of butter near the cranberry bowl. "Careful," I said. He smiled without looking at me. "I'm just making room for the real food." Serena covered her mouth like she was hiding a laugh, but she wanted me to see it. My mother kept arranging candles. My father pretended to check the score on the TV in the next room. 4 people, all trained in the same family sport, pretending cruelty was manners. I reached for the serving spoon, but Caleb leaned closer. "You still using grocery store ingredients for that little hobby business too?" he asked. "Or are people actually paying for homemade lotion now?" My face got hot. Not because he hurt me, because everyone hurt him. And nobody moved. Then Serena's eyes drifted to the chair where I had placed my purse. It was a black leather bag, simple, structured, expensive in a way I never would have dared to show off 10 years ago. I had set it beside my coat, away from the food, away from everyone's hands. Serena picked it up anyway. "Cute bag," she said, already opening it. "Serena," my voice came out low. "Put it down." She smiled wider. "Relax. Why are you so jumpy?" Her fingers moved through my things like she owned them. Lip balm, keys, a folded receipt. Then she stopped. I watched her pull out the thick envelope. The air conditioner hummed over our heads. A knife tapped once against a plate. Serena opened the papers, and her smile faded so fast it almost looked painful. "What is this?" she whispered. Caleb leaned over her shoulder. My mother finally turned. My father stepped back into the room. Serena read the number out loud. $15 million. The words hung above the table like smoke. For half a second, I saw something I had wanted my whole life. Shock, recognition, proof that I was not the family joke they kept me dressed as. Then my mother's face changed. Not pride. Calculation. "You hid this from us," she asked. "I didn't hide anything," I said. "You never asked." Caleb's voice softened first, which scared me more than his insults. "Gina, this is a family-level opportunity." Serena clutched the papers to her chest. "I have 2 kids. Do you understand what this could do for them?" My father moved closer to the doorway, not blocking it exactly, but standing where I would have to pass him to leave. My mother looked at me with wet, offended eyes. "She has a family, Gina," she said. "She deserves it more." That was the moment I stopped pretending this was just Thanksgiving. I folded my hands in my lap and let them talk. That was the part they misunderstood. My silence had always been their favorite tool. If I stayed quiet, they could call it respect. If I swallowed the insult, they could call it maturity. If I left the room crying, they could call it proof that I was too sensitive. But this time, I was counting. Serena said she needed a bigger house because her children deserved a yard. Caleb said my money should be put to work before taxes and inflation ate it alive. My mother said family wealth had to stay in the family. My father said I owed them for the roof over my head. I looked up at him then. "The roof?" I asked. He pointed toward the ceiling like he had personally hung every beam. "This house gave you a foundation." A small laugh slipped out of me before I could stop it. Serena's mouth tightened. "This is exactly your problem. You always act wounded when people ask you to be decent." "Decent?" I repeated. My purse sat on the chair beside me. Open now, violated. The envelope with the offer lay in Serena's hands, creased where her fingers gripped it. I thought about all the times I had watched her receive things that were supposed to be mine and then get thanked for accepting them. My college fund, my parents' attention, the benefit of every doubt. The truth. When Caleb stole my first business plan and told everyone I was jealous because his version failed. I reached for my purse. Caleb's hand moved toward it at the same time. "Don't," I said. One word, no shouting, no shaking. He froze. My mother blinked, startled, as if she had never heard my voice without an apology attached to it. I pulled the purse onto my lap and closed it slowly. The click of the clasp sounded louder than it should have. "You want to talk about family money," I said. "Then we're going to talk about all of it." My father's face darkened. "Watch your tone." "No," I said. "You watched mine for 38 years. Now you can listen to it." Nobody moved. I reached into the inside pocket and felt the edge of the second envelope. Thicker, plain, prepared by people who did not care about my mother's tears or my father's reputation. My attorney had told me not to argue from emotion. "Put the facts in order," she said. "Start with what they demanded, then show why they had no right to demand it." So I did, but not yet. First, I looked at Serena. "You really believe you deserve my company more than I do?" Her chin lifted. "I believe my children deserve security." "So did I said, when I was 18. That landed. My mother's eyes shifted away first. My father looked down at his plate. Caleb stopped smiling. The turkey sat in the middle of the table, glossy and untouched. Steam had stopped rising from it. My mac and cheese had gone cold at the edge, exactly where Caleb had shoved it. I slid the plain envelope from my bag and placed it beside my water glass. "Before anyone asks me for $1, I said, "you're going to hear what it already cost me to sit at this table." The envelope made a flat, clean sound when it touched the table. Nobody reached for it at first. My father's hand stayed wrapped around his fork. My mother stared at the paper like it might stain the tablecloth. Serena held the offer in her lap, still clutching my $15 million like she had found buried treasure with her name on it. Caleb was the first to recover. "Gina," he said, smoothing his voice into something polished and fake. "Let's not turn Thanksgiving into a courtroom." I looked at him. "Funny. You were fine turning it into a collection agency." His smile died. I opened the plain envelope and pulled out the first stack of records. Not dramatic, not messy, just clean pages, clipped together, highlighted where they needed to be. "This," I said, placing it beside the turkey, "is what my company cost before anyone offered me a dime." Serena rolled her eyes. "Here we go." "No," I said. "You don't get to do that anymore." Her mouth opened, but I kept going. Rent on the first workspace, ingredients, packaging, insurance, payroll, shipping, chargebacks, loans I signed alone, payments I made when I was living on canned soup and gas station coffee. I tapped the pages once. "Every dollar in that offer came through my hands first. Not yours, not Mom's, not Dad's, mine." My mother pressed her lips together. "No one is saying you didn't work hard." "Yes, you are," I said. "You said Serena deserves it more." The air shifted. I saw it hit her, not because she regretted saying it, but because I repeated it where everyone could hear how ugly it was. Serena straightened in her chair. "I have children, Gina, and I had a future," I said. My father's eyes flicked toward me. I pulled out the next set of papers. "When I was 18, there was supposed to be money for school. You both told me it was gone because the family had a rough year." That was the phrase. Write a rough year. My mother looked down. I placed the records on the table. That same year, Serena had a wedding with imported flowers, a custom dress, a country club reception, and Caleb received a business check from this family for his first big idea. Caleb shifted in his chair. I looked at Serena. "You got a wedding. Caleb got startup money. I got student loans and a job cleaning office bathrooms after midnight." Serena's face went pale, then hard. "That was years ago." "And you're still spending from the same account," I said. "The one where I give, and you receive." My father slammed his palm against the table. A spoon jumped near his plate. "That is enough." I turned to him slowly. "No, Dad. Enough was when you stood in front of that doorway and tried to make me feel trapped in a house you don't even control anymore." His face changed, just a flicker, but I caught it. Caleb caught it too. I pulled the final papers from the envelope and laid them down in front of my father. Legal notices, bills, bank statements, property records. Nothing with private numbers showing. Nothing emotional, just facts. "This house fell behind months ago," I said. The payments stopped, the notices came, and while Mom kept polishing silver for guests, the bank was preparing to take the brownstone. My mother whispered, "Gina." I didn't look away from my father. "You leveraged this house because Caleb told you he could turn one bad investment into a miracle, but the money didn't save anything. It went into late bills, luxury charges, and more promises." Caleb stood too fast, his chair scraping the floor. "That's a distorted version of events." "No," I said. "That is the version with receipts." Serena looked at Caleb. "What bills he didn't answer." I slid one more document forward. A private buyer stepped in before the house went to public sale, paid the debt, took legal control, allowed the current occupants to remain temporarily. My father's voice dropped. "You had no right." I smiled then, but it was not warm. I had every right. I was the buyer. My mother gripped the edge of the table. Serena's eyes widened. "You bought Mom and Dad's house." "I bought the house the bank was taking," I said. "There's a difference." Caleb looked toward the hallway like the front door had suddenly become interesting. I stood. "Finally. So let me answer the question you all asked before dinner got cold. No, I will not hand my money to Serena. No, I will not invest in Caleb. No, I will not rescue people who only call me family when they need access." My father tried to speak, but nothing came out. I closed my purse. "The offer is mine. The company is mine. And this table you surrounded me at, I looked around at all four of them. It's in my house." The first consequence arrived without a raised voice. It was a plain envelope my attorney had already prepared. Resting in the same bag Serena had opened without permission, I took it out and placed it on the table in front of my father. "This is a temporary lease agreement," I said. "If you and Mom want to stay here while you figure out your next step, you can sign it. Market rent, clear terms, no family discounts, no emotional invoices." My mother let out a sound like I had slapped her. "Rent," she whispered. To our own daughter, I looked at her hands. The same hands that used to smooth Serena's hair while telling me not to make things difficult. "To the owner," I said. My father's face turned a dull gray. For once, he did not tell me to watch my tone. He only stared at the envelope like it had teeth. Serena pushed back from the table. "You can't do this. You can't just punish everyone because you're bitter." I turned to her. "No, Serena. Punishment is taking an 18-year-old's college money and calling it a family emergency. Punishment is laughing at her business for years, then demanding the sale proceeds the second you see a number. This is not punishment. This is access being revoked." Caleb gave a short, nervous laugh. "You're making a huge mistake. You think lawyers scare me." I picked up another folder and slid it toward him. "These are copies. My attorney has the originals. So does my accountant. Any discussion about investments, missing payments, or the money my parents gave you goes through them now." He did not touch the folder. That told me enough. My mother's voice softened, turning sugary and broken. "Gina, baby, please." We were shocked. We said things we didn't mean. "You meant every word," I said. "You just didn't know I had proof." No one spoke after that, not because they had nothing to say, but because the old tricks had nowhere to land. Tears did not open my wallet. Guilt did not move my signature. The word family did not erase the records on the table. I picked up my offer letter and placed it back inside my purse. This time, Serena watched my hands but did not reach. That was the smallest victory, and maybe the cleanest one. I walked to the far end of the table and pulled out the chair with my name card half hidden beneath the napkin. For a second, I looked at it. The tiny white card, the careful cursive, the place they gave me after everyone else had been centered. Then I set it face down on the plate. "I won't be needing this seat anymore," I said. The house was still full of people, but for the first time, their noise no longer owned me. Outside, the November air felt sharp enough to wake me up. I stood on the front porch with my purse against my side and listened to the house behind me. No laughter, no clinking glasses, no one calling me dramatic, just a heavy kind of quiet where the truth had finally taken up space. I used to think being loved meant keeping a chair open for people who never saved one for me. Now I know better. Love does not demand your labor. Mock your dreams, and then call your success a family resource. Love does not ask you to hand over your life's work because someone else deserves it more. If you have ever been treated like your value begins only when people need something from you, share your story in the comments and subscribe so you do not miss the next one. That Thanksgiving. I stopped begging for a seat at their table. I walked away carrying my own.